Hello everyone, so welcome to another video, and in this one I'll be talking about a topic that has been coming to my mind a lot lately and that is directly linked to my own lack of productivity in making these videos or making my artworks. So this topic is the importance of removing distractions in our life and accepting the state of boredom, accepting silence, and what happens to us when we do this. Now, in the background of this video, I'll be showing the full painting process of this digital artwork I made called Greatness. So if you enjoy it, feel free to check out my Instagram page, which I'll put a link to in the description below to see some more artworks I made. So let's get straight into the video. So I've noticed that increasingly over the past few months, I've been sheltering myself from my own thoughts, from my own mind, by constantly finding distractions and things to do. Being busy and active is in itself not a bad thing. However, in this case, it's less about being busy, but more about actively trying to find distractions in order to not let my own mind think. For example, walking back home from work, I would constantly be listening to music, or listening to a podcast or a video, or watching a series as soon as I arrive back home, or even just going out to see friends as soon as I'd become a bit bored. And again, these are not bad things, these are not bad activities in themselves, and it's our right to want to have fun and to enjoy ourselves. However, the problem arises when one does this so much to the point where there is no time in the day where things are actually just silent, when you're actually just reflecting upon yourself, reflecting on your own mind, introspectively, and not digesting any form of exterior content. So, why is it important? What happens when we finally accept silence or this state of boredom? So I'll get into this now. So it's interesting because this actually used to be something I was very conscious of, and I used to purposefully remove distractions quite often from my life to force myself into this state of contemplation. But I haven't been as good at doing this as of late. And I noticed this when a few years ago I was practicing to run a marathon, and I would run decent distances a few times a week. And when I did this, I purposefully used to never listen to music, and when doing this for over an hour with no music and no distractions, I'd noticed that your mind naturally goes to places that it very rarely goes, because we just don't give ourselves this time to do this. And from a personal perspective, but I can imagine this to be the case for many other people too, we're often distracting ourselves because there's a lot of hardships in life, and these tough, important questions tend to be just very uncomfortable and difficult to deal with. But when we're truly left alone with our thoughts, our mind will go to these places naturally. Now, I do want to be a bit careful here because some people may be more inclined to more depressing thoughts, and my aim here is not to encourage people to constantly think about sad things in your life, but it's more about pointing to the fact that for all of us, we can view our existence, our life, as some kind of quest, and it's very interesting how when we let the mind wander, it always finds a new objective, a new mission that it tells us to fulfill. So the main problem with constantly distracting ourselves is that we may never be directed to the next path, and there is a risk that we end up wasting our whole life avoiding the hard and real questions we need to face to keep developing as a human. There's an interesting and very famous quote in the Bible which states, "Ask and you shall receive." Now, I feel there's a psychological reality to this sentence. It doesn't have to be a religious one. When you question your mind about what should I do next, you will always find some answers that seemingly appear out of nowhere. So, this is why I state here that it is so important to accept the state of boredom that can arise in our lives, the state of silence. If you feel like an evening you have nothing to do, instead of turning on the TV, try grabbing a notepad or a diary and just start writing down things that come to your mind. You'll notice that your mind naturally goes to many different places that you've been avoiding, and you will actually start discovering answers and ways to tackle things that have been bothering you unconsciously for quite some time. This act of consciously questioning our mind is a great way to gather a better understanding of our unconscious mind, which plays such a large and hidden role in our life. However, this topic of the unconscious could be the topic of a whole other video. So, another point I would like to mention here is on a slightly more scientific basis, is when we're distracting ourselves, whether it's via a TV, radio, or whatever the case may be, we're in fact triggering and releasing dopamine constantly through these activities. And it's important to remember that dopamine is one of our most powerful motivational forces in our life, and it's not infinite. And if we're constantly releasing it through these various activities, it means we will be generating less dopamine from other normal activities, which are maybe more productive and more actually important to us. And this is something I noticed personally very recently. When I was constantly distracting myself, at one point I decided to purposefully just sit and do nothing for 30 minutes, and I just realized how incredibly hard it was to do. I felt extremely bored, and everything just seemed very grey and dull in my mind, because these dopamine receptors were actually kind of fried through the constant distractions. And consequently, the conclusion here is I'll now be allocating a bit of regular time to simply practice accepting being alone with my thoughts. This practice of reflection, of active questioning, is something I'll really try and do for at least 10 minutes a day. And I think now more than ever, we're living in an age where we've never had as many distractions and things that we could be doing. And we need to really be conscious of this. When we refuse to just be alone with our thoughts, we're impeding our own personal growth. We're avoiding the hard questions, as I've said. And consequently, we're just making our personal development more difficult by avoiding these questions that are so psychologically important to us. So let's just please become aware of this and try to do something about it now, rather than years later when life has passed us by, because we'll regret this. So thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you next time. And don't hesitate to leave a comment or any questions or feedback or whatever the case may be. And just to give a little practical example, as I was thinking about this question and it came through the precise, like me making this video came through the precise activity of just sitting down by myself and wondering to myself, okay, what is next? What do I do? And this script, this video idea came to my mind. So there you go. Thanks, guys, and bye-bye.